these documents, I would hate to be a decision maker, to have to really rely on reports from intelligence, because it's all over the place, it's confusing, and it's contradictory. But that way they can skirt responsibility. So let's go into some of the documents that I think are still very, very hot and widely misunderstood or underreported. How about this one? Russia probably is using cyber means primarily to influence the election by stealing campaign party data and leaking select items. It is also using public propaganda. Okay, fine, folks. I can live with that. It's happened before. It's interesting, though, the next message that nobody seems to understand or appreciate. This is something the CIA knows, but they don't tell anybody else. Next, please. This fits an historical pattern of Russia using less sophisticated propaganda and information operations to influence U.S. elections. They do it all the time. Now, what they did, the intelligence community, to basically dirty up Trump, they went overboard. They made a federal case out of something that happens every election cycle, and they pretended that this had never happened before, and it was Trump and the collusion and Russia, and they just tried to scare everybody. Very, very wrong. Take a look at this, please. This is the kind of language, all right? It's incredibly hard to decipher this, all right? I'm not asking you to read it. I'm going to take a shot at reading it. And it is a big mess because they want it to be a great big mess. Estimative language, they call it, everybody, consists of two elements: judgments about the likelihood of developments or events occurring and levels of confidence in the sources and analytic reasoning supporting the judgments. Judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. Assessments are based on collected information, which is often incomplete or fragmentary, as well as logic, argumentation, and precedence. What the hell does that mean? That means we're not responsible for any of this stuff. We, the intelligence community, are off the hook. If you guys make a decision based on this stuff, don't look to us. All right, I want to show you something else here in this bad boy. Next, please, if you don't mind. We now assess with low to moderate confidence, there we go again, thank you. Why assess if you're low to moderate confidence? That Russian government-affiliated actors compromised the Illinois voter registration database and tried to compromise comparable infrastructure in multiple other states. That's what I mean, right? Low to moderate confidence. Then what the hell are you doing putting it in there? How about this? They're talking about CIA, DNI, the FBI. The FBI at one point says, we don't believe in any of this stuff. The FBI will be drafting a dissent this afternoon. Please remove our seal and annotations of co-authorship. Wiping their hands clean. More on the historical aspect of this, though, all right? I think this is important. It's been overlooked. Yes, 2016, they hit us about the face and breast, chest, neck, and head that this stuff happens. The IC, the intelligence community, is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request, Obama's request, that pulls together the information we have on the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. Now, here's the part that I like, all right? They say out loud that it's happened before, and they're more specific, all right? Next slide, if you don't mind. An explanation of why Moscow directed these activities and how Moscow's approach has changed over time, going back to 2008 and 2012 as reference points. Now, have you ever heard a peep about Russia in 2008 and John McCain or Barack Obama? Or 2012 and Mitt Romney? I know Mitt Romney at one point said Russia was like the real enemy we got to worry about, and Obama didn't seem to take that very seriously. Maybe they wanted Obama to win. Where are the documents on that? I think we have to get that. So Obama asked for this whole big review, and he wants it by a certain date. Next slide, if you don't mind. All right, the only real direction we got was POTUS wants a comprehensive assessment drawing from all available sources. Fine. 2, and it has to be before the end of his administration. Why? So they can sabotage the next administration. So he could do it while he still had power. And that brings me to Comey for some reason. Yeah, Comey, all these guys, this is when they're hatching it. This is right there, the moment when they're coming up with the collusion crap, right? Ambassador Kislyak, how can we taint President Trump even more than we already have, and the Steele dossier and the rest of it. And this document they put out, well, I can't believe it's on government letterhead, because we paid for this, everybody. Russian efforts to influence the 2016 U.S. presidential election represent the most recent expression of Moscow's long-standing desire to undermine the U.S.-led liberal democratic order. Now, I will give him this. It is an allusion to the fact that Russia has always been trying to do this. In the 50s, in the 40s, this is what countries do to each other. President Trump did not incite this, all right? It happens, no matter who the Republican nominee, Democrat nominee, it happens. Next, please. This is the document that really got a lot of play in the swamp. But these activities demonstrated a significant escalation in directness, level of activity, and scope of effort compared to previous operations. Not really. Social media, for the large part, is free, right? They even go into what they actually did, and it's not all that much. Next slide, if you don't mind. Russia's goals were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency. Next slide. We further assessed Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. Hey, you know what else is going on here, folks? This is a message to the swamp. This is telling the swamp, don't work with this guy. The swamp telling the other part of the swamp, he's bad, and we're giving you all the rationale you need to undermine, sabotage, insubordination, you name it. They have delegitimized, they attempted to delegitimize a president, and that there's got to be a law against that. I don't know if it's treason, but it's something. And what was Russia doing? I think now this is the slide. We also assess, Putin and the Russian government aspire to help President Trump, President-elect Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting more of the same. That's another thing about this stuff. It's very, very redundant. Do we have another one from this section? I think, they talk about cyber trolls and things like that. Cheap stuff. Stuff that anybody has. A kid, a 300-pound guy on a bed, whatever. Sorry. You get the picture, right? So when President Trump got to Washington January 20th, 2017, the entire swamp, the establishment, had this rationale to defy him, to impeach him, right? Because he's the Russia stuff, the taint of Russia. Not telling the people, not even telling the swamp itself that this stuff happens all the time. It's not extraordinary. It's interesting to see Barack Obama's denial, although it's really a non-denial denial. He put this out today. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. All right, you know what we call that? A non-denial denial. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These words are interesting, right? Undercuts. Who uses that? It's giving them wiggle room, all right? A lawyer came up with all of this stuff. It doesn't undercut it. All right, I think you can probably get away with that in a statement like this. Something is up. And actually, if you don't mind, let's go to Susan Rice, because Susan Rice said it all out loud. Yes, she did. She wrote this. Some people say it's a CYA email on her way out the door. I think it's worse than that. President Obama began the conversation, she writes an email to herself, by stressing his continued commitment to ensuring that every aspect of this issue is handled by the intelligence and law enforcement communities by the book. Now, a lot of people thought, okay, right there, they're doing something nefarious and they're writing this, and there's an element to that. But the next couple of paragraphs justify what they're doing, okay? From a national security perspective, however, President Obama said he wants to be sure that as we engage with the incoming team, we are mindful to ascertain if there is any reason that we cannot share information fully as it relates to Russia, because we've already come up with this, well, this dirt. They reached down and got mud and threw it all over the Trump administration and said, ha ha, you're dirty. but they threw it at him. Next, please. Next slide. Director Comey affirmed that he is proceeding by the book. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you did, as it relates to law enforcement. Comey said he does have some concerns that incoming NSA Flynn, National Security Advisor Flynn, is speaking frequently with Russian Ambassador Kislyak. How shocking is that the ambassador of Russia would talk to the National Security Advisor? It's kind of the thing I think is known as a Tuesday in the White House, right? That's the stuff that they do. President Trump this time is not holding back like he did last time with Hillary Clinton. There's more at stake here. I mean, it's not really up to the victim to press charges or not. We're all the victim here. I'm glad President Trump does, but the United States is the victim, and the United States must respond to all this stuff. President Trump today in the Oval Office.
You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden. And so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught.
He's right. Now, there's more documents coming out, maybe as soon as tomorrow. That's going to spell even more of this stuff out, what they did wrong. But I think that's very important, and it was kept from the American people, the appropriate perspective on what Russia did, all right? It was no big deal. And it cost them about $150,000 over 3 years. They exaggerated it and lied about it. And who knows what else? More to come. Oh, and Obama certainly milked it every step of the way. If nothing else, you know, if he doesn't get arrested, he should never be welcome in polite society again. The man totally lied to everybody.
They're undermining our alliances, cozying up to Russia. What happened to the Republican Party? Its central organizing principle in foreign policy was the fight against communism, and now they're cozying up to the former head of the KGB, actively blocking legislation that would defend our elections from Russian attack. What happened?
All right. It was peace through strength. That's what we were all about. The world changed a bit, but they're playing on like nostalgia, right? The Reagan administration, the Cold War. Yeah, Russia, it was a different world. I mean, we're still not crazy about Russia, but that's a throwback. And kind of, you can see it's part of the information operations. Anything Russia, Trump, they thought the base would freak out. We're a bit more sophisticated than that. I know, he thinks we're just a bunch of rubes out here, huh? Next.
Seem utterly unwilling to find the backbone to safeguard the institutions that make our democracy work. I am here to tell you that even if you don't agree with me or Democrats on policy, even if you believe in more libertarian economic theories, even if you are an evangelical and our position on certain social issues is a bridge too far, even if you think my assessment of immigration is mistaken and the Democrats aren't serious enough about immigration enforcement, I'm here to tell you that you should still be concerned with our current course and should still want to see a restoration of honesty and decency and lawfulness in our government. It should not be Democratic or Republican. It should not be a partisan issue to say that we do not pressure the Attorney General or the FBI to use the criminal justice system as a cudgel to punish our political opponents. And the closer that we get to Election Day, the more those invested in the politics of fear and division will do anything to hang on to their recent gains. They want to keep us divided and keep us angry and keep us cynical because that helps them maintain the status quo.
That's President Trump for you. A guy who wants to maintain the status quo, right? You really understand MAGA, don't you? Barack Obama. What do they say? The DOJ has a cudgel. They locked up a president of the United States. They locked up 2,000 people from January 6th. People didn't break anything. People didn't hurt anybody. How dare these people